Oh, they've got these weapons of mass destruction. They've got these chemical weapons. They've got these biological weapons. They're developing these nuclear warheads. They're going to blow us all up. They're this Islamist regime that doesn't care about human rights. They're going to just rip us all to shreds. Um, I don't know about you, but I'm old enough to remember all of this rhetoric and discourse that was instilled in all of us pre Libya, pre Iraq. This is all a broken record. We've seen this script before. Can't you fucking write a different script this time around? Oh, Muammar Gaddafi, this piece of shit, this autocrat. Let's just get rid of him. The world's gonna be much better without Gaddafi. So they intervene. Gaddafi is deposed. He's fucking sodomized with a bayonet. No matter what you think of Gaddafi, no one fucking deserves to be sodomized with a bayonet. Um, Now, post intervention, Libya has actual slave markets. Pre intervention Libya was much better than the Libya today. Oh, Iraq. Well, let's just get rid of Saddam Hussein, this guy who has these weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. He's gonna rip us all apart. They go in, they do the PSYOP operation before that. They go in, they mass murder people. They find no weapons of mass destruction. Oh, Afghanistan. Let's just liberate all of these women in Afghanistan. They're gonna welcome us all. Let's do a regime change. So who's running the show in Afghanistan today? It's the same fucking dudes you try to kick out, right? So if you're falling for all of this crap that they're peddling this time around vis-a-vis Iran, you've got to be an absolute fucking baby, man. If you're a half-wit who believes that a regime change in Iran is going to be different from these other regime change operations, I've got a bit of bad news for you because there was a regime change in Iran in the 1950s, undertaken by the Americans and the British. And all of the problems that you see in Iran today are a direct result of that regime change operation in Iran in the 1950s. So the rise of the mullahs in Iran, the absolute destruction of Iranian democracy was a direct result of that regime change. So I've pulled up some clips from a video by Mehdi Hassan for the Intercept, where he delves into this regime change operation. So you don't ever hear about this regime change operation on CNN, Fox News, and these mainstream propaganda outlets. You only see this kind of stuff on independent news sources like the Intercept.
Americans often ask, why can't Iran have a secular democratic government? Well, they kinda did, and it was the US that helped get rid of that government and paved the way for the Ayatollahs and the Islamic Revolution. You have to go back to 1953 and the coup against Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who was democratically elected. A former Time magazine Man of the Year, the populist Mossadegh had a great deal of support from ordinary Iranians. He reduced the powers of the autocratic king, the Shah, and nationalized the Iranian oil industry. That upset the British, who had been in control of Iran's oil, and they decided to take action.
We should not allow the biggest foreign asset in Britain to go without doing something about it.
You see the oil thing here, the oil connection. We saw the same thing with Iraq. So oil is always central here to these regime change operations. It's not about WMDs or the liberation of women. That's just a ruse. It's about oil. It's about the military-industrial complex and that kind of shit. If it's just circling back to Iraq, Dick Cheney was basically the CEO of Halliburton, Bush's vice president. He was the CEO and chairman of Halliburton for a long time, and the same dude was then calling the shots vis-a-vis American foreign policy. So oil is just central here, and you've got to fucking understand that.
Right. So the British persuaded the Americans, in the form of the Eisenhower administration, to join them in getting rid of Mossadegh.
The British understood the extent of paranoia in this country concerning communism. This was the day of Joe McCarthy, and that the British consciously played on that fear in order to help persuade us to involve ourselves in the coup.
Mossadegh was not a communist, but he did have the support of the country's Communist Party. So the CIA, just 6 years old, swung into action. CIA agent Kermit Roosevelt, grandson of President Theodore Roosevelt, arrived in Tehran in July of 1953 to implement Operation Ajax. Thanks to declassified CIA documents, we now know the details of that plan included persuading the Shah to sign 2 decrees sacking Mossadegh and replacing him with a pro-American general, paying mobs of protesters to take to the streets and start anti-government riots, and funding a propaganda campaign to portray Mossadegh as a pro-Soviet communist.
That mob that came into North Tehran and was decisive in the overthrow was a mercenary mob, had no ideology. And that mob was paid for by American dollars.
By August, Mossadegh had been forced from office and the Shah was back in full control.
The Shah, who was a brutal dictator, he had this secret police. He would get people beaten up for dissent. He had a lavish lifestyle. There was rampant corruption. He would throw these parties where he would spend millions of dollars, and so on. So the reason that Iran isn't a democracy today is because the West got rid of this democratically elected prime minister in the 50s, replaced him with this Western lapdog, a brutal dictator, the Shah of Iran. Wait, there's more to the story.
And here's a key point, a bit a lot of people seem to be unaware of. Declassified documents seem to suggest the CIA also worked with hardline members of Iran's Shia clergy, including Mossadegh's one-time ally, Ayatollah Abul Qasim Kashani, the Speaker of Parliament, and they worked with him to help bring down that secular democratic government and bring back the Shah. See, a lot of Shia clerics back then weren't happy about Mossadegh's alliance with the communists or his generally secular outlook, and so both the CIA and Britain's MI6 offered to fund those clerics, including the powerful and influential Ayatollah Kashani. Ayatollah Kashani was a mentor to Ayatollah Khomeini, yes, the same Khomeini who would later topple the despised Shah and found the theocratic and anti-American Islamic Republic of Iran in 1979.
So there are lots of dumb fucks, lazy dumb fucks out there who never read a book. They would argue that there's something wrong with the Iranian society per se, or there's something wrong with Arab societies, or there's something wrong with Muslim societies because they have these religious fundamentalist autocrats ruling over them. So there must be something religious at play here. Maybe these cultures are really backwards, or these people are just backwards pieces of shit or something. But if you read a book, you would realize that this is a lot more nuanced than that. And probably the biggest reason that a lot of these countries have these pieces of shit ruling over them is these CIA-backed regime change operations. Just think of just take Afghanistan as an example. There are so many examples. Just take Afghanistan as an example right now. So the CIA bankrolls the quote unquote Mujahideen, emboldens them. They take over Afghanistan, and look at Afghanistan today. Um, and this regime change and interventionism isn't something that's just inherent in the Middle East or Muslim societies, if you will. Just look at Latin America. Just look at the number of countries in Latin America that have had these regime change operations for American business interests. Okay, just one last point before I call it a day with this video, and this is just abominable. Do you know who the CIA and the Mossad are cheering on as the next ruler of Iran? It is the fucking Shah's son. The same Shah who ruled over Iran after the 50s coup. Now they want his son as the next ruler of Iran. That's going to turn out not great for the Iranian people. That's a lesson that we've learned from history. And this dude is just so bonkers, the Shah's son. If you look at his Twitter account, all day long he's just basically cheering on the Israelis, the Americans, and he's cheering on the mass murder of the Iranian people, his compatriots right now. And now he wants to become the next ruler of Iran. Man, this is just fucking ludicrous. It really is.